Climate change. Endangered species. Weapons of mass destruction. Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire took some big swings, like Joaquin Phoenix splashing water on aliens, which is actually a contemporary reference for me to make. Gen 3 has had retrospectives before, but I'm coming on the back of doing in-depth runs of Generations 1 and 2, including separate analyses for Yellow and for Crystal. So I'm in a very fresh place to evaluate these games in the context of the prior entries, and see just how good Ruby and Sapphire are, both in an absolute sense and compared to the past. First of all, hello. I'm Mothy, Jimothy for long, and I play games how the developers want us to. For Pokemon games, that has meant things like building my team to take advantage of powerful TMs that they give you early access to, and using opponents' Pokemon levels to choose where I go first when I have options. And I balance that with an attempt to hit all of the game's content, especially anything that has changed from previous entries anytime I play games that are in a series like Pokemon is. Playing games, quote, as intended, gives a really good look at why games were designed the way they are. It's my personal favorite when I get to kind of apologize or explain things for the developers and be like, but look, they had such a good idea, it's the children who are wrong. Did Pokemon Generation 3 innovate enough from Gen 2 to be worth playing? Did it keep enough the same that the series was doing well? And most importantly, is it a fun video game? Let's get a playthrough going of Ruby version and I will pick at these questions as we go. I name my character, meet my neighbor May, then save her daddy, Professor Birch, from an aggressive dog using Torchic. Listen, this is a mistake I'll own right now. The game highly rewards raising Mudkip, considering Rock, Electric, and Fire gyms are 3 of the first 4, which a ground-water dual type poops on. But since none of the starters fit on my endgame team, I had just picked the one who would leave May's team most vulnerable to my own, but yeah, it's just not fair how much better Mudkip is against the first half of the game. I collect a free potion in Old Ale Town, beat May's first challenge with my 1 level advantage that I got from grinding worms, then return to Birch Daddy for some free Pokeballs. You used to have to work for these. Mother gives us running shoes, which are exactly what these games were missing. They speed up your movement with 1 button press, no annoying music change or transition, and importantly, they aren't sticky like the bikes always are. Now I just have to join Strava and hit on people in my run club. I do not want to raise a Zigzagoon, but I do want free items, so I snag Taxation on Route 103, a small investment for a game length of free loot. It's like buying Amazon stock in the 90s. New in Generation 3 are passive abilities, of which each Pokemon gets 1. Each species has 1 or 2 abilities in its pool of options. Taxation the Zigzagoon has the Pick-Up ability, which gives a 10% chance after each battle to be holding an item he has robbed from hardworking Americans. These are good items too. Super Potion and Full Heal are like the fail case, with the upper end being things like Full Restore and Rare Candy. I'm not actually going to raise my taxes, but I'll keep this thing on the team as long as we have a spare slot to enjoy a stream of loot. If you don't do this, you're not a gamer. Trainer battles begin once we start on Route 102. Quelaag the Torchic is monstrously overpowered in the early game. She feels even stronger than starters from the prior games. Am I imagining that? We reach our first berry trees in here, which are pushed very heavily in Gen 3. Berries were expanded a lot from Gen 2. There are many more types, lots of NPCs interact with them, and every route has dirt patches for growing multiple berry trees. Cultivating berries is another free source of value, but it honestly takes way too many clicks and too much time to get them planted and watered. It's a usability nightmare. I am a goblin for free value, and even I am not compelled to grow berries. But do pick all the ones you pass because they are free status cures. In Petalburg City, our own father is the gym leader, but we cannot challenge him yet. Instead, we meet our second rival, Wally, who gives our catch tutorial respectfully late in this generation. The cool thing is, this also teaches us that Relt is catchable on Route 102, since we may have missed it at only a 4% encounter rate. That's subtle, and I like that. Continue west. Rich Boy Winston wants the smoke. These rich boys and ladies Pokemon hold nuggets that you can steal later with the right moves. One complaint I had about Generation 2 is that they didn't explore enough with giving opponents held items in battle. Generation 3 improved this very slightly with Rich Boy Nuggets and some healing berries during the Elite Four, but there's still a lot more design space here that I think the designers missed out on. Then, the team has been lonely so far with just Quelaag, but the Petalburg Woods are transformative for us. We have 3 catches to make. I was very close to running Slaykoth since his ability has interesting battle implications, but we just need to catch 1 as trade fodder. Next catch is a Shroomish. Grass type was pretty disadvantaged in the first 2 generations, but shines brightly in Gen 3 thanks to the huge amount of water opponents. Welcome Abraham to the team. This little bro is why I wanted May to have the water type on her team. Our final catch is the rarest. I want a male cascoon. I could have just raised a wormpole, but it's a crapshoot which cocoon it evolves into, and this way I could guarantee it. Welcome E to the team. And those 2 new additions are enough that I bin my starter, Quelaag. I won't lie, this was a bad idea. I was building toward my endgame team here, neglecting the importance of being strong at the start. When I played blue version, I ran a temporary Clefable just because it was strong in the early game. I should have kept Quelaag around longer in a similar role. Instead, it took a miserable few levels grinding Abraham up to combat viability, swapping in E for experience 2, since I'm a fool, and cascoons that you catch only know Harden. Once Abraham can hold his own, I meet a Team Magma, our new and more sensible bad guys, Grunt, threatening a Devon company, surprisingly not evil despite their name, Researcher, for his papers. We intervene and take on our second of many Poochinas this game. Gen 2 did a good job of diversifying opponent Pokemon after Gen 1 was foul with Rattatas and Coughings, but Generation 3 backslid a little bit on that. It'll be a lot of dogs and camels. I've got dark types imprisoning me, all that I see. For winning, we get a Great Ball, pretty early for that, and learn that Team Magma is up to something in Rustboro, the next city. They're going to be our enemy organization this game, but aside from this Grunt's initial crimes, they're not evil, which is a big difference from past games. They kind of even have a point. We'll see more later. On the far side of the woods, we're gifted TM9 Bullet Seed, which is basically made for Shroomish, justifying in small part the insane team comp that I've been curating so far. The flower shop gifts a Whalmer pail for watering berry trees, which improves their yield slightly. And a woman inside the shop gifts a random berry each day. There are like 5 of these random daily berry givers throughout the game, and I questioned why at first, before I realized you can actually eat or sell all of your berries away and be unable to get more. The berry gifters are designed to pull you out of that hole that you can create. Now, that's a pretty strange failsafe they added, since there's no safeguard against pissing away your Earthquake TM, which is not only higher impact, but much more likely to happen. Well, one of the best innovations of Generation 3 comes up on the bridge into Rustboro, double battles. Battling 2 opponents at once adds a great degree of strategic depth to the combat, and it's supported well by the new ability mechanic. It's only a shame that the total number of duel battles in the game is like 10, so it doesn't really make sense to build for them. They just kind of happen and you do your best. Having a reason to build your team for double battles would be interesting. Arrive in Rustboro City and Papa Roach gives you Cut. Abraham can't learn Cut until he evolves, but luckily Taxation figures out how to cut. I guess he's a Republican. This little girl complains everyone makes fun of her for giving her Makuhita a stupid nickname, then turns around and offers us that stupidly nicknamed Makuhita, Makit, for our Slakoth. Fighting types were heavily rewarded in Generations 1 and 2, yet the only viable option was Hitmonlee, thanks to a shallow fighting type move pool. Generation 3 finally fixed fighting type, adding several non-ass fighting moves as well as offering several new fighting Pokemon, like Makuhita. Alas, Abraham is going to evolve into my fighting type, so I have no need for Makit. My weak team catches its first break here since Roxanne's gym is Rock type, which Abraham handles well, swapping with E for experience. I even get E to ding 10 off of Roxanne's Champion Nose Pass, meaning he evolves after battle, and I finally have my Moth E. And if you didn't see that joke coming, you owe me a like. Roxanne gifts the Rock Tomb TM for winning, which the game too generously allows all of the starters to learn, but it's otherwise tough to get value with. I'll mention now that I'm constraining this run to only use new Pokemon, as I did when playing Gold version, in order to get a better picture of the new batch. I had a much easier time constructing a viable team in Generation 3 than I did in Generation 2 under the same constraint. Perhaps it's due to fixed learn sets or just power creep, but I had many powerful options and interesting choices to make, whereas my Generation 2 team felt a lot like being stuck with several mediocre teammates who were kind of the only option in their role. Allowed to use Cut now, I revisit the Petalburg Woods quickly and nab the Miracle Seed held item that boosts grass moves. Gen 3 did a good job expanding the variety of held items such that there are more strong options than just always running the type damage boosters. But I mean, yeah, we still want this one. I head east on Route 116 to advance the plot into Rusturf Tunnel, where that same Magma Grunt has stolen some goods from Devoncorp and taken an old man's Wingull Pico hostage. I win back the goods, and Pico, whose grateful owner will now ferry us around on his boat. I also learned from the diggers that Rusturf Tunnel construction had to halt because it was disturbing a Whismur habitat. Environmental crisis was finally entering the public dialogue in the 2000s, at least in America, even though I had been freaking out about it since the mid-90s as a child hearing about the greenhouse effect on Encarta Encyclopedia 95. And I really respect Game Freak for including these themes in Pokémon Ruby and Sapphire. It gave me a small bit of peace as a child seeing more media acknowledge the need to take care of our planet, and I hope it helped us all grow up a little bit more conscientious. Tried to return those stolen Devon goods, but were actually asked to forward them directly to Slateport City. Sure. We also meet the Devon president, a Mr. Stone, who makes us also deliver a letter for him. And that's the bottom line, because Mr. Stone said so. He prepays us with a Pokénav, this generation's version of the Pokégear. I never understood why they didn't just tweak the Pokégear and keep the same damn name. It's like they were afraid of infringing on their own copyright or something. Fallout called it the Pip-Boy every game, just saying. Then we have one errand before taking Mr. Briny's boat ride. I dip back into Route 116 and catch a female Nincada. If you can predict where this is going, I'll heart your comments. But for now, she lives in the PC. Then come aboard and bring along all your hopes and dreams. I love this early game transit. The world feels more realistic and alive. This boat ride is a simple touch that does a lot for world design. Teasing the content you can go back and surf for is a nice touch as well. Land in Dewford town, collect an old rod we don't need, and set a trendy phrase with this man outside the community center. This system confused me a lot when I was younger because I didn't see the effects of it. Turns out it's just a cute gimmick for multiplayer, and it also randomly resets Feebas locations on an unconnected, much later route. That's not a great mechanic. I never cared for stuff that you need game facts to find out in a game. Looking at you, Final Fantasies 7+. Random note, the loot in this game is a higher quality than previous games. It's a bit less dense overall, but Gens 1 and 2 spammed you with crap like Paralyze Heals, Ethers, and Pokeballs. You get a little of that still, but there's a higher ratio of things like Evolution Stones, TMs, and Vitamins. The better loot helps exploration feel more rewarding. Part of that is probably because they let status cure items and Ethers be the domain of berries, so I guess I do see the upside of berries in this lens. The team is still only 2 deep as of our second gym, but E resists fighting moves quadruply and knows Confusion to really rip through Brawly. E must be short for EEPROM, cause after that we can teach him Flash and enter Granite Cave. They do the nice Gen 1 thing of giving you an escape rope within the dungeon where you'll want to use it. We hand Steven his letter and receive a Steel Wing TM, the 5th time in a row that I'm not going to use this. At least this time it's not given in the post-game though. Now, the game wants us to visit Slateport, but I rush back to Rustboro first to tell Mr. Stone I delivered his letter. Forgetting he already paid us for this task with the Pokénav, we extort an XP share as a second payment. Early XP share is well placed in Gen 3, since your starter is going to be a lot stronger than the other things you're trying to raise, and this helps even out your team's strength. I actually kept mine on E much of the time since I wanted to boost him up for content. Okay, take Briny's ride to the Slateport Beach now and grab the trainer experience, getting a prize 6-pack of soda pop for defeating everybody in the cafe. In the Slateport open air market, one vendor sells me 3 dolls for my secret base, even though I have no idea what a secret base is at this point. Is that when you play Skrillex really quiet? Bangarang. This one man hints at secret content if I come back after one of my Pokemon learns secret power. Then it's time to not enter a contest, because Slateport has this nice big contest hall, but that's the hyper rank contest hall. I guess they knew contests were going to need to build a little hype to get people excited first. Still, go visit this girl inside the hall to get a Pokéblock case that is randomly required to enter the Safari Zone later. To advance the plot later, the game is going to need us to enter the museum. That has an entry fee of $50. So, what will happen if we go bankrupt first? Spend down all of your cash at this point till you have less than $50. Just make sure to get one Harbor Mail in your shopping spree. Some fights are coming up soon, so let's expand the team first to join in on that XP. Head north on Route 110 quick and catch an Electrike, which is a good chance to speak about natures. Starting this generation, each Pokemon has a random nature assigned, which increases one stat slightly and decreases another. It's not really necessary to min-max natures in the campaign, but it would be a bummer if your Glass Cannon special attacker had a nature decreasing its special attack, for example. I did actually need a couple of catches to get an Electrike without its special attack decreased, but I'm finally able to welcome Costanza to the party. That done, tried to deliver the Devon package at the shipyard, but a man named Doc tells us to find Captain Stern in the museum. Because we spent down all of our cash, we cannot afford the admission fee, but they wave us through anyway. So by blowing all of our money, we've managed to save $50. Stonks. Inside the museum is the Magma Grunt we've beaten a few times now. He recognizes us, hands us the Thief TM in appeasement, and runs off. I love that they've given some personality to the grunts in this game, reminding us that they are people beneath the costumes. Costanza still has no electric moves, so I teach him Thief since it at least uses his special attack stat. Deliver the package to Captain Stern, and grunts bust in with our first Numel fight of many. These camels, common foes throughout the game, actually wreck my current team, where the Chosen One Mudkip would have succeeded. After fighting, learn from the magma leader, Maxipad, that their goal is to absorb the oceans and make more room for humans to live. They actually have a goal, not just evil for evil's sake, and after fighting literally hundreds of water opponents later in the game, I kind of see their point about reducing the ocean. Anyway, this terminates our job in Rustboro. Head up Route 110 for real now, which we will see a lot of, but dip west to Route 103 quick for some level-appropriate trainers. Then enter the trick house back on Route 110. It really should be called an illusion house, because a trick is something a whore does for money. We have to visit this place 8 times. Each time we locate the men hidden in the entry room, then complete a spatial puzzle in the back, including a couple of trainer fights. Each visit here is gated by the plot though, so we can't gun through them now, nor should we wait until the final plot gate is open, or else the trainer battles will all be trivially easy. So, I have to swallow my normal inclination to bundle all the quests together at the end of the game and do the trick house as we go, favoring level appropriateness over efficient pathing. With our first trick house visit done, continue up Route 110, battling several trainers, including our second Mayday Parade. She has a real team now, her own Shroomish, a devastating Numel, and an evolved Marshtomp, which Abraham fortunately counters. Then arrive in Mauville City, the axle at the center of the wagon wheel that is Hoenn. There's a lot to do here. Rock Smash is given away, upgraded from TM to HM status in Gen 3 since it should have always been 1. Weird that Dig did not get the same treatment. We get a free bike here and have to choose between acro and mock bikes. Except our choice is not permanent, and we can trade bikes at any time by revisiting this store. This 2-bike design I cannot defend. Each bike has certain loot it's able to grab throughout the game, but we could have either bike at any moment from now on. What do they want you to do? See a spot that needs the bike you don't have, so you drop everything, return here to swap bikes, and then run back for your HP up or whatever it is? Nah, screw that. Start with the acro bike, and after we grab the final piece of acro loot, I'll have us swap bikes exactly 1 time, ending the game with mock bike. A woman in a house here gives us the coin case in exchange for that harbor mail we bought in Slateport, and with that we can check out the game corner, which has sadly lost its appeal in Gen 3. We can essentially buy the good elemental triad of TMs here for 80k each, and psychic for 70k, or gamble for it if you're a freak like that. But Gen 3 removed the Pokémon as prizes that the Gen 1 and 2 game corners had, which is sad to me. That was a cool, quirky way to get certain Pokémon early, and I miss it here. Alright, now that we own a bike, we're permitted to redo Route 110's cycling portion for the trainer XP. We face several Magnemites here who are downright problematic without fighting, fire, or especially ground moves on the team. I do what I can with Leech Seeds and Paralysis. Then, having slogged through those, visit the Mauville Gym, where Wally first asks for a warm-up battle to see if he's ready. He's not, because Costanza thieves him down in 1 move. Then I limp through the trainers in the gym and take on a very uphill Watson battle with my team around level 20 and not a single move that is not ineffective against his Magnemite and Magneton. This battle takes a few attempts, and I only just get through on the back of Leech Seed, Stun Spore, a Shockwave-resistant grass type, and all those soda pops we got on the beach. This gym is absolutely overtuned, unless you've specifically taken Mudkip, whose ground moves trivialize it. I just don't think the 3rd gym in the game should have so many resistances. The list of available counters for Watson's Magneton is Marshtomp, Geodude. End of list. Clawing our way to victory gets the Shockwave TM, finally an electric move for Costanza, and we can use Rock Smash. You know what that means? Back to the Trick House. Yeah, after every gym we're gonna have to be sent back here. With that done, continue west of Mauville on Route 117. The daycare is here, which we will want later. Once again, I'll be pulling an elaborate breeding stunt just to give a Pokemon a usable move within its own dang type. Soon, reach Verdanturf Town and say hello to Wally's family. A woman here checks my team's happiness and finds me lacking. I have been getting my team KO'd a lot more. That's just a facet of Gen 3. The power level has been massively inflated compared to previous games. Gym leaders have all been real battles so far, and normal trainers have not been cakewalks either. Part of the change is that Pokemon learn real on-type moves now, and at much lower levels. Gone are the days of your ground type only knowing Scratch and Defense Curl till level 42 or whatever. In Gen 3, they're going to give you some real moves like Mudshot and Rock Tomb, and do that in the teens or 20s. These more aggressive movesets made it so you cannot defensively counter most battles anymore. You're better off building a proactive offensive team that defeats them before they can defeat you. When counterplay drops off in favor of non-interactive aggro, the meta degenerates, and it's what killed more than one Magic the Gathering format over time. Games are just more fun when the answers are stronger than the threats, since you have to read your opponent and use your brain to win. But, sir, this is a Wendy's. Give us Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, and Sludge Bomb in the 20s, sure. The contest hall in Verdant Turf is the beginner hall, so I enter a smarts contest with Abraham since I see he's got 3 synergistic moves. Contests are a huge system added in this generation. They provide a neat, separate way to raise Pokemon aside from the normal battling. Except the moves and berries you'll want to do your best in contests are gated by game progression anyway, which encourages you to wait on entering contests until the postgame. That's not what the devs wanted though, so I entered one now and actually had a fun time in this contest without any preparation. So, contests consist of 2 rounds. The first round just gives you points based on your outside preparation, based on the Pokeblocks you've created and fed to your Pokemon. Since I've fed Abraham nothing, I flunk round 1 with 0 points. But round 2, and hear me out, is a minigame not too different from Darkest Dungeon. Think about it, turn-based combat with a great importance placed on positioning and reacting to your opponents. Perhaps it's my Darkest Dungeon experience that allows me to miraculously come out on top here, and even do well enough to eke out a contest win despite my pitiful round 1. Abraham is certified smartest boy with a ribbon. Now, please forgive me for not touching contests again. The meta is pretty deep, and it honestly needs a separate video thanks to all the Pokeblock and moveset prep. But contests are a fun system, and I would not be mad if the rewards for participating had a slightly greater effect on the main game or story. Moving along, rock smash open a rust turf tunnel, it's okay when we do it, and get the strength HM as a gift for reuniting some lovers. Our Devon employee bro waits on the far side, giving us the repeat ball for our repeat help, and says new ball types are now purchasable in Rustboro, timer and repeat balls. I'll note here that marts sell much more differentiated goods in Gen 3 than before, which both reflects IRL and makes it worth checking the mart in each town as you arrive. That's a win all around. And the new purchasable balls replace the Kurt Apricorn ball crafting system, which was always kind of awkward having to fly to Azalea Town just to accumulate 1 at a time. You want like 12 heavy balls to catch Lugia, which is rough when you can only get 1 a day. Who would bother? An insignificant detail, and therefore exactly the content I like to make a huge point about, is that the flower shop gets new content having beat Watson. A girl outside gifts us a white herb, and the associate inside now sells pretty plants for our secret base, that we still don't know what that is yet. Anyway, go back to Mauville and dip east on Route 118 for a couple of trainers. I'm going to coin a term, the Route 46 phenomenon, after how Johto Route 46 worked in Gen 2. Pokemon will open a route that we can only access a portion of since we don't yet have the HM we need to complete the whole area. But they'll still put trainers there who are only level appropriate if we visit right now. Generation 3 has a lot of this Route 46 phenomenon. It applies to Route 118 right now, and heck, you can even apply that label to the Trick House. Route 111 is our real destination when we're ready to advance the plot. The Windstrait House is another random challenge house, but unlike Trick, this one can be done in 1 visit. Just win 4 straight battles to beat the Windstraits. As we continue north, I'll say there's a little too much space between Gyms 3 and 4 in this game. We get some Team Magma content, so it's not fully dry, but there's like 5 routes and 4 dungeony areas between Watson and Flannery, which is excessive. The Fiery Path is a minuscule throwaway dump for fire Pokemon, your only real shot at a fire type if you didn't start with Torchic, and they're confined to this one tiny map. Back outside on Route 112, Abraham dings level 23 against a Whalmer to evolve into Breloom, giving me the fighting type that I've wanted. Also, Taxation picked up a nugget for me, as he'll do many times, and that always tickles me. A young man up here finally gives us the secret power TM to let us make a secret base, but I don't yet possess the Pokemon that I want to teach this move to. I will keep my eyes peeled for a nice base location, though. Reach the Glass Blower's house on Route 113. He gives us the Soot Sack, allowing us to collect volcanic soot for vaguely useful items. I blew all the repels that I held and slogged through 1,000 ash tiles in order to afford the top prize, the Black Flute, which halves encounter rate until you leave an area. Some of the water routes are so large, you really blow through repels exploring them, so this flute is a fine half measure for keeping some of your sanity. Alright, reach Fall Arbor Town after this. The Fossil Maniac has nothing for us, but his little brother gives the Dig TM. Do not be careless with this in Gen 3. You need Dig later, so only teach this to someone who can keep it learned. And high-key, this game would have been much better balanced if they just gave us Dig before Watson. That would have solved a lot of issues. I'm mad they didn't do that. The move Relearner is here. For a heart scale, he can reteach a Pokemon any move that it used to know via level up. There are a handful of impossible moves in many Pokemon's movesets listed as a low-level move that the Pokemon cannot possibly still know by the time you catch one or evolve it. But this guy finally fixes that oversight. We'll use that later. Meet Lynette in the Poke Center, who has somehow invented the same Pokemon storage system Bill did, and she invites us to her home on Route 114. Except, visiting her, there's really no reason she asked us here. There's no plot, it's... Well, someone set off their car alarm outside the window. There's almost nothing to this encounter. She just says sorry her place is a mess, then gifts us a C-Dot doll. One can only assume she was luring us here for a ransom situation, but if she really wanted to kidnap me, she would have brought pretzel M&Ms. In lighter news, we get to expand the team again here. Swablues are common in the grass. Welcome Achu to the party. This gal is a little weak on offense, but she evolves into a playable dragon type before the endgame. The Mad Lads at Game Freak finally permitted us a usable dragon type. On that note, they relaxed the gatekeeping on Dark and Steel types too, especially Steel for Ruby version. Dark is a little more in Sapphire. Aeron, Mawile, and Skarmory have all been options through this point. The next dungeon is Meteor Falls, which has some very brief plot. We meet Team Aqua, who opposes Team Magma and are portrayed as good guys in Ruby version. Team Magma has stolen a meteor they coerced Professor Cosmo, who's that, to lead them to, then they hurry off to Mount Chimney. Okay. Exit to Route 115 for a few more battles, then land back in Rustboro. Complete a circle back east again to Mauville, then north, then instead of taking the fiery path this time, the cable car up Mount Chimney is now operable. Fight a few Team Magma members at the top, including their leader Maxi. Abraham punches his dog down, E Psybeams his bat, and his Camerupt. Yikes. This fight takes healing items spam and a whole lot of Psybeams. I'm really missing that Mudkip here. Nab the meteorite after combat, and the volcano is stopped from erupting, like Spock detonating the cold bomb at the start of Into Darkness. After that, we're allowed down Jagged Pass, a small route with trainers and loot enabled by the Acro Bike before we land in Lavaridge Town. Here, a woman by the sandbaths gives a why not egg I will hold until it hatches, cause you can't release an egg, and the hot springs has a hidden ice heel in it, which is hilarious to me. It's like ice heel has always just been a scoop of warm water. Also, this old woman jokes about taking a bath with an electric Pokemon, like the dad in The Ring. That's some prime millennial doomer humor. Then we're free to challenge Flannery at long last. Fire opponents are still a huge issue for this team. Costanza and Achu are both type neutral, but they don't have the levels and the beef to go toe-to-toe. I have kept that XP share on E though, and what saves my ass is E dinging level 31 off a Kecleon to learn Light Screen. With a screen up, even 2x fire moves against my team are manageable. Flannery's Torkoal is just insane without a water type though. The win finally comes when I sacrifice Costanza just to land a Thunder Wave, then spent many turns headbutting with Abraham, making it tough for her to attack through both flinches and paralysis. Winning, oof, gives the Overheat TM, an insane fire-type move that's best on Blaziken, Solrock, or Groudon, Pokemon who want the fire move but also have a physical off-type as backup once their special attack is neutered. We can also use Strength. May meets us outside afterwards with a Go Goggles gift which unlocks the Route 111 desert. Before going there, revisit the Mount Chimney summit for some new trainers that have moved in with Team Magma gone. And a revisit to the Fiery Path lets us move a boulder now for the Toxic TM, which gives Achu a way to deal damage, even with her low attack. Then, the desert is good for some trainer XP and a fossil. Trapinch is also catchable here, the second usable pre-endgame dragon type. Their ability does not allow me to flee, so E was forced to kill a wild one, which got him to level 33. From there, I popped a rare candy, getting E to his target level 34 to learn Silver Wind. This is Bug Ancient Power, a 60 power move that has a chance to raise all stats. But my goal was not a Dustox with Silver Wind, no. It's daycare time. I deposit E and Gansey the Nincada with them and bike around until they make a sweet baby Nincada egg. I didn't really anticipate the baby still knowing Flash, but more importantly, through the magic of egg moves, we finally have a Nincada who knows Silver Wind. Welcome R68.12 to the team. I also taught her Dig and Secret Power. She's got a pretty deep moveset even as a newborn. And we have another round of Trick House open, having beaten Flannery. After that, we have to make it to Petalburg. I chose to go via Fall Arbor Town so I could return the meteorite to Professor Cosmo for a return TM in return. It's weirdly not the only place you can get a copy of this. Gen 3 really wanted to make sure you had access to return. Complete the loop down to Petalburg, where we can now challenge our dad. A Breloom with Mach Punch is excellent tech against this normal type gym. Abraham Lincoln pulls an AK-47 out from under his hat and blows this gym away with a rat-a-tat-tat. Until we reach our dad. This took quite a few attempts since Dad runs 2 Slakings, Pokemon with very high stats, especially attack, but they must waste every alternate turn loafing around doing nothing per their Truant ability. There are interesting ways to mitigate truancy, so I almost ran a Slaking myself to demonstrate. But after losing several attempts attempting to fight conventionally, I realized I can abuse Truant to my benefit by sending R68.12 underground with Dig every turn Slaking is not loafing around. Assisted by Toxics from a Chew, even Norman's Hyper Potions aren't much of a speed bump, and our fussy baby bug puts away 2 monsters over twice her level to defeat Norman. Winning lets us use Surf if we visit Wally's parents first for the HM. We still don't own a water Pokemon who can benefit from this offensively, but Taxation can surf. This derpy raccoon is truly an incredible placeholder as you build your team in Ruby thanks to HM coverage and the free loot. Beating the 5th gym also made it so that trainers around the world will now sometimes accept rematch challenges, but if anything tells you this in-game, I'm not aware of it. Between rematches and what Surf opens up, the game becomes rather overwhelming at this point. I've shut down and put games aside for overwhelming me like this before, but you and I are going to soldier through this one. I start with a visit to Mom, who gifts us the amulet coin to show us our dad is not the only one who cares. It's a nice thing to hold while scouring for rematches. Rematches in Ruby and Sapphire are a little better than in Gen 2. They're a lot more numerous and they let us approach them to battle. We're not stuck waiting on annoying phone calls. It's definitely a better system, especially if you're trying to grind up any new team members after, for example, throwing away 34 levels on a Dustox. There's just a small downside that in Crystal, the rematches felt more narratively connected as we saw our opponents get stronger through the game and call us proud of their accomplishments. Rematches are all utility, no lore here, but it's a much nicer way to grind than wild Pokemon if you need to grind. Now, prepare a bowl of ramen. It's time for a little bit of liquid and a lot of salt as I get cranking on the sea roots 105, 6, 7, and 8. Listen. I cannot make a video on Hoenn without addressing the absolute dump load of surfing routes and corresponding water opponents. It's entirely too much. It's monotonous, and the burden of constant wild encounters is annoying, and it's just unfun due to sheer volume. But with that out of the way, let's talk about this as part of a bigger picture. Grass Pokemon were bad in Gen 1 and 2, and I don't just mean their type defenses. There were very few offensive reasons for you to run a Grass Pokemon in the whole franchise until now, and Electric type was good in Gen 1, but then not really worth running in Gen 2. So when you zoom out to the cross-game meta design level, it is in fact cool that the games assign different values to different types throughout their level design. Grass and Electric are both extremely strong in Ruby and Sapphire, which is why I made sure to include both on my team. And corollary, we actually get a vacation from other types that have dominated the first 2 games. Psychic Pokemon, for example, have few targets in the Gen 3 meta, as well as Rock, thanks to the relative scarcity of poison and flying opponents. Fully half the routes in this game are water routes. It's tedious to play for sure, but I think we can give some credit to Game Freak for using this to shake up the meta between games. And the game's narrative of planetary balance, land and ocean, would not hit as good if the game only had a small bit of water as an afterthought, I guess. Okay. Costanza evolved to Manectric somewhere in here, who really isn't so bad. It's just Ma and then Nectric. And I also got R68 to level 20 to evolve into Ninjask, and into Shedinja. I knew from the first planning stages that I would want to run a Pokemon with a battle transforming ability on my team. I mentioned Slaking was in the running for a while, but instead I landed on Shedinja, whose Wonder Guard ability prevents all damage to it that isn't super effective. As a bug ghost dual type, that means fire, flying, rock, ghost, and dark type attacks are all that can hit him. The trick is, Shedinja has a single hit point, so taking any hit will knock him out. But if an opponent lacks these moves, Shedinja can take his sweet time dismantling opponents with impunity. Now, there are hidden dangers to Shedinja beyond those 5 types. Sandstorm and Hail effects do sneak through, as does Leech Seed and Poison. And Confusion can still make your bug hurt itself. For this reason, a Persim Berry is actually one of the best held items you can keep on your Shedinja, since opponent AI is savvy enough to go for a Confusion when they can. But with perfect knowledge of opponent movesets, which I do have when making these videos, a Shedinja is a pretty dirty trick to play on many sporadic opponents throughout the game. Plus, it belongs to the new erratic growth pattern, which take drastically less XP than others to reach level 100. Okay, there's a lot happening. Sludge Bomb TM, one of the better attack moves in Gen 2, is randomly gifted by a man in the Dewford Community Hall having beat our dad. Abraham is happy to have this. The abandoned ship on Route 108 is a Route 46 phenomenon. We cannot complete it without dive, but we can collect a dive ball, which will help us later. And the powerful Ice Beam TM is available here, but I left before getting it. Oops. There are some thematic double battles along these routes. Illumise and Volbeat, Dustox and Beautifly. I like that for the few double battles there are, they took effort to build interesting teams. Once we hit Slateport, we're done with surf errands for now, but we still have some more terrestrial errands before advancing the game. Now that we have a Shedinja with secret power, there's a new vendor in the market who sells secret power and hidden power, but we get that for free soon too. Plus, the guy who told us to get secret power originally now sells furniture. And of course, beating Dad means more Trick House. Up in Mauville, Watson is awkwardly standing in the center of town. He asks us to go shut down a wild generator in the power plant underneath the city, which we can surf to off of Route 110. New Mauville is super quick and empty. It's a mini little electric Pokemon dungeon like Fiery Path was for fire. There's no trainers, just a little loot, then we hit the generator and we're done. For our effort, Watson gifts us the Thunderbolt TM. Like Sludge Bomb, it's insane they just hand this to you, so early even, after Gen 2 was very guarded with the strong TMs. Watson says he likes seeing the youth step up and take charge, which is an A-tier pun. Then with my secret powering Shedinja, I now make my secret base up on Route 113 and decorate a little bit with the stuff that I've collected so far. Secret bases are way cooler with friends, since their bases will appear in your world with a battleable copy of their team once you've beaten the Elite Four. But offline, it's just a cozy... It's just a cozy little space we can place some furniture and hang out. Okay, it's gonna look like I'm making progress, but we've got to get the good rod after only walking like 10 feet on Route 118, which derails progress because I now have to go catch a whalmer. Fishing got slightly more engaging in Gen 3, needing you to press the button at shifting intervals, sometimes several times in a row, in order to hook a Pokemon. But fishing reverted to Generation 1 with how the hooked Pokemon's level can have a huge spread, so it takes a long while until I hook a Whalmer at a reasonable level and then welcome Bridgerton to the team. There are remarkably few targets for a water user offensively in Gen 3, given the ubiquity of water ops, but we still do need a host for the 3 water TMs. Not to mention, we specifically want a Wailord for content later. And this, kids, is why I did not grab a Mudkip as my starter. Alright, we can make actual progress again along Route 118. Steven ambushes us, but there's no material exchange. We do finally find citrus berries out here, which are OP free healing if you want to be a goblin and farm these, but fighting rematches and just buying soda pop is a better use of time. Our destination is north on Route 119, but we can jog east on Route 123 first for some Route 46 phenomenon trainers and the Berry Master's house. If you're going to bother farming berries anywhere, these 12 plots are the most convenient place to do it. Then go up Route 119, a very long route with tons of trainers. If you can squeak to the Weather Institute, there's a bed inside for healing. Team Magma is keenly interested in weather patterns in their quest to terraform, so they've taken some hostages here. That means more dogs and camels to beat up, and look at that, Bridgerton is finally the Numel answer I've needed all game. The meteorologists gift me a cast-off cast form for rescuing them, who goes straight to computer jail. As we near Fortree City, May attacks with literally no telegraph for her third battle, which I will only highlight by showing that Buge walls her Marsh Stomp. Oh yeah, I had to rename Shedinja to Buge now, since only Ninjask kept the original name when it evolved. May gives us the Fly TM when we win, a huge offensive pickup for Achu that finally makes her somewhat viable in combat, especially while it wastes turns for Toxic. Then we hit Fortree City. The second NPC trait of the game is offered here, but we cannot complete that yet. An old woman gives us the Hidden Power TM here, so it's a good thing we didn't buy one in Petalburg. Play the world's tiniest violin for me, but I think Hidden Power needs to be given out at the very start of these games to get any use out of it. A random power and random type move, once your team is already established, sucks, but something like sneaking a rock move onto your early game Makuhita could be really sweet. Then meet a man who is DWing, that's direct wingling, his younger girlfriend while his female roommate, possibly wife, watches TV. You know he's hiding something too, because he downplays it as sending his wingull on an errand. I watched TV with the woman to cheer her up, and a report of one of my battles came on TV. Cool. Something mysterious blocks the Fortree gym, so all we can do is proceed eastward out of town, where Steven gives us the Devon scope to spot and kill Kecleons, and it's right back to Fortree to take on the gym. This interaction is super weird. I feel like Steven could have just given the scope when we ran into him on Route 118 instead of having us take this very small detour. Well, this is the flying gym, like when I get on an airplane. Costanza can obviously solo this whole thing with Thunderbolt, but I let Bridgerton nab some levels too since he's pretty dangerous with just Surf. Winona is the first gym leader where I'm not fighting for my life since Brawly. Little Achu almost takes down her Altaria with Toxic and Fly, but Costanza has to finish up. Then he proceeds to blow a hole through her Skarmory and Pelipper. Winning allows us to fly, and I really like that this comes from an actual mid-game flying type gym in Ruby version. Fly permission has felt kind of random and unthematic until now. With Fly, let's go hit some disconnected errands. Up Route 115, we can surf to a couple of trainers and some Travis Kelpsy berries. Then of course, with another badge comes another Trick House visit. This is the only time the back room hosts not trainer battles, but quiz robots. At this point, I nabbed a few more rematches around the world to boost Achu to level 35 in order to evolve, giving me the first Dragon type I have ever used on my team in 5 Pokemon videos. She learns Dragon Breath to get her going. Then it's back to progress along Route 120. There's a tiny nothing burger dungeon here, the Scorched Slab, which only contains a Sunny Day TM that I'm not going to use. I just have not found benefit in using setup moves like this in the campaigns. You could just use Flamethrower out of the gate instead. Or maybe I'm just playing like a 6-year-old. Anyway, I catch a Gloom on Route 121 for a trade a while later. The Safari Zone is here, which I skipped until getting the Mach Bike, but there's one Acro-only Calcium that I missed in there if you want to spend the entrance fee and go get that now. And I'll note these last 2 very long Hoenn routes have brought back something from Gen 1 that I felt was missing in Gen 2. Long routes. Routes with tons of trainer battles and lots to explore where you stretch your PP and healing items to the limit, never knowing if there will be a safe place to rest coming soon. I even referred to this as feeling Dark Soulsy in another video. All the routes in Gen 2 were pretty short and safe, so I'm glad these challenging areas came back. They give reason to care about elixirs if nothing else. At the end of Route 121, I finally limp into Lily Cove City. Here I healed up, then reversed and went back down Route 122 to tackle Mount Pyre before dealing with Lily Cove. It's got several trainers on the inside, then magma grunts up top, reminiscent of how the Pokemon Tower worked in Gen 1. At the summit, Maxie steals the blue orb and says he's bringing it to Slateport. Then this old couple are chill about giving me the red orb since their chief want is for the orbs just to be together, and we intend to give chase. And they finally introduced some lore about the box art legendaries. Groudon and Kyogre battled fiercely over the boundaries of land and ocean in the past. We gotta help Groudon win, cause he was doing the Lord's work. Then I proceeded to accidentally leave my computer recording for 30 minutes as I showered and scrolled TikTok. Route 123 closes the loop back to the berry farm from earlier. If we have a grass Pokemon on the team, which I made sure we do, this girl gives us the Giga Drain TM, making Abraham now a peer to Costanza in anti-water capability. I fly to Petalburg, where Captain Stern announces completion of the submarine, which Team Magma immediately hijacks. They must have had employees on the inside for this, there's no other way. Okay. Back to Lily Cove for our final fight with May outside the department store. She has picked up a Swellow, but not changed the rest of her team, which remain disappointingly unevolved. With May sent away, we get department store access, which is rather lately given in this generation. I fail a lottery ticket pull, then load up on fresh waters on the roof, as I've done in all previous games. But these are actually not as cracked as they were. They are the same top-notch healing to price ratio. But with your Pokemon taking much more damage this game, and with a lot more cash available, you can probably just afford actual Hyper Potions if you want them. The Move Deleter, located in Lily Cove, has a couple of uses for this team. He finally lets me strip Flash off of Buge, and I give that to Costanza. And I also take Surf off of Taxation, not that we had to, cause Bridge is the captain now. All that remains is to hit the Team Magma hideout. This one dungeon varies significantly between Ruby and Sapphire versions because, of course, it's the Team Aqua hideout in the other game. I didn't compare the dungeons side by side for funness, but it is cool to see greater dimorphism between the two games than we've had before with the different teams you can fight and with this one dungeon. We collect the Master Ball here, more missable than it has ever been, then take on Tabitha as the boss. She's got 2 camels that Buge counters this time, but we were too late. Maxie has already left on the submarine. Again? We cannot follow without knowing how to go underwater. I know that we'll learn dive in Mossdeep City, but our character doesn't. By all appearances, we're just giving up on the Maxi thing and deciding to seek more gym badges. To that end, surf down Route 124 to Mossdeep City, where our first task is to invade Steven's house for the Dive HM, invade this other man's house for the Super Rod, which we will want, and visit the Space Center for a Sunstone from the Sailor, which we will want. Then find the girlfriend that the man in Fortree was DWing. His older brother confirms that they are SOs, not just friends. Speak to the Wingull and it returns to the boyfriend. Then, let's go fight the 7th gym. As a psychic gym, Buge goes hard here, immune to most of them and one-shotting them with silver wins. Then, the gym leaders here are actually a twin battle, which I'm really glad that they included. Still, having only 2 opponents is a little weak. Achu Toxics both to start, then I race down Soul Rock so that it's safe for Buge to come in against Lunatone. With that win, and with diving unlocked, we begin the worst, sloggiest section of any game thus far, and I'm including grinding for the odd egg. Take how much water content we've had already and quadruple it. After a quick trick house visit, that is. The first watery thing I do is finish up the abandoned ship's dive portion, collect the scanner key item, and I also got Ice Beam at this point and taught that to Bridgerton. On Route 125, north of Mossdeep, find the Shoal Cave. We have to complete this dungeon twice, once at low tide and once at high. Tides change every 6 hours. Mine started low, so I collected 4 shoal salts. Down at the bottom, at low tide, there's an optional ice cave, the little specific type closet for the ice type, similar again to Fiery Path and New Mauville. Gen 3 seems to aim for a little more realism by confining types into thematic areas instead of having random growliths be in the grass or whatever. This is neither good nor bad, but I will say if you're going to bother designing your world this way, it would be neat if there was a gameplay reason for it to matter too. Incentivize me to catch Pokemon here, like Claire did for the Ice Path in Gen 2, or Surge with Diglett Tunnel. Okay, back to 124 for the dive content that we couldn't do there earlier. There's a treasure hunter here who trades evolution stones for colored shards. Each shard is dive treasure on this route, so I treated this like a little quest and rounded them all up to turn in. Down to Route 127 now, and lots more diving for hidden treasure that is pretty apparent if you look for it. Buge dings level 38 in here to learn Shadow Ball, giving him a very powerful same-type attack. Not that he needs to be efficient in any matchup where I am using him. Then, down to Route 128. Love Discs are a 40% encounter on the Super Rod here, and 50% to carry a Heart Scale if you end up needing more of those for the move Rememberer. And cover Route 129 with another huge chunk of water trainers, but at least the dive content is mostly behind us as we hit these later routes. Like Route 130, and Route 131. Then a small break, actually. Pacific Log Town is squeezed in here to give a small break amidst the hours of water content. Use the Sunstone on our Gloom to make a Blossom, which we trade to a woman for her Corsola named Coroso. This unfortunate Pokemon didn't get the buff that it needed to be usable, and it's not even exclusive to trading. Not to mention that if you've made it here, you'll have long ago settled on your water-type team member. The NPC trades have just been real stinkers this gen. And our second copy of Return, or perhaps Frustration, is available from a man here. Okay, once more into the beach. We've got 3 more water routes. Head west of Pacific Log to routes 132, 133, and 134, which all kind of blend together thanks to strong currents that push you around. I had to run these routes several times to collect all the trainer battles, and I'm sure I still missed 1 or 2. Combine the annoying navigation with the incessant wild encounters, and I will honestly say this game kind of stopped being fun here. I would love to split this content up, but the trainer levels don't lie. The game does seem to want you to complete all of this content before continuing with the main plot. Bridgerton dings level 40 on this stretch to evolve into Wailord, who's remarkably chill in my overlay despite his size. And once we're swept to Petalburg for the nth time, I hand in the scanner to Stern for a trade evolution item that I will not be able to use. By now, it's a new day for me and the tides have changed, so I fly back to complete the high tide version of Shoal Cave. After collecting 4 shoal shells, this old salty dog crafts a shell bell held item for us. I don't know why this is a repeatable quest, but it is. If you want to be ringing shells bells, plural. Then, we are finally ready to visit the seafloor cavern by diving on Route 128 to advance the plot. This is a medium-sized cave dungeon with a few magma grunts and the earthquake TM, which Achu can surprisingly learn. Groudon Ramsey is in stasis at the bottom. Our task is to fight Maxi to try and prevent his awakening. Buge starts against his Mightyena, but he switches to Crobat so he can deal me damage. This is kind of Shedinja specific, but the AI of trainers seems to mostly know how to counter a Shedinja when they can, except there's just a 30%-ish chance that they'll make a mistake and not do the smart thing. Even though I win this fight, the blue orb shines anyway, and Groudon is loosed upon the world to cause immediate disaster. Outside, it's clear how harmful the burning sun will be for all life on the planet, and Maxie is very suddenly repentant. The two teams decide to work together to restore balance. Steven comes along and directs me to Sotopolis City, which sounds very similar to more than one Sonic the Hedgehog stage, but I'm low-key loving the scary vibes, so I checked on some other towns first. Except nobody is acknowledging the climate crisis, much like half of America back then. In Final Fantasy VII, when Meteor was looming in the sky, NPCs around the world had dialogue about it, but that effort was not made in Pokemon for citizens to acknowledge the burning sun. Well, let's go to Sotopolis, but there's one errand along the way. On Route 126, we have to dive and play around in the seaweed for a 5% Relicanth encounter and nab one for content. That dive ball from earlier is perfect for this catch. I named him Cressida. Then, surface in Sotopolis. This place is a ghost town for now. It reminds me of that ancient city in Fear and Hunger with the intense light and the creepy, understated music. All we're permitted to do is enter the Cave of Origin, which isn't that weird for a child to do when you consider Steven has been checking on us throughout our journey and vetting our capabilities. He's confident that we can handle what's inside. This cave still needs Flash. It's kind of nice to still see Flash getting used even this late, just so that your move slot does not feel wasted. Speaking of wasted move slots, the Waterfall HM is in here, completing Bridgerton's HM-dominated moveset. It's annoying that they forced the most common type to have the least interesting moveset because of all the HM requirements. Then, at last, we reach the enraged Groudon. If y'all have been watching me, you know that I kill most of my legendaries, but this one is actually welcome on the team. I throw my Master Ball to catch Mad Shrimp. He's nominally a ground type, but with excellent special attack and an ability that causes auto Sunny Day, he's secretly a fire type too once I teach him Overheat. No, I did not put a big focus on playing Ruby versus Sapphire in this video like I did for Red versus Blue and Gold versus Silver. And that's just because I wanted Groudon so much more than Kyogre, it was not worth deliberating. Y'all are aware how I feel about the excessive water content in this game. So when faced with a choice between a legendary who makes me sweat and makes me hotter versus one who makes me lose my breath and makes me water, obviously I chose the dry boy, Groudon. With the environmental crisis solved, I head outside and there's just some old guy with unrelated dialogue. Maxie and Archie are nowhere. I am discrediting Pokemon Ruby for how quietly it resolves this huge apocalyptic plot. There's no celebration for stopping Groudon, just Steven being like, well lad, guess you can take on the gym here because you saved the planet. It's anticlimactic, and I at least would have expected parting words from Maxie and Archie. Alas. Remember earlier when I alluded to impossible moves? Groudon allegedly learns Ancient Power at some point, but he's forgotten it by the time that we can catch him. Well, I happen to want Ancient Power on Mad Shrimp, so the move Relearner hooks me up. Aside from adding great type coverage to the team, I had wanted to run Groudon as a good reason to show off the value of the move Relearner NPC. Sotopolis is a real city now, too. These two men argue over whether Shroomish or Barboach is the larger Pokemon, and they will reward us for showing them a gigantic example of each. Yeah, they brought back that Catch a Huge Magikarp quest from the Lake of Rage for some reason, and doubled it. One nice man gives us the Brick Break TM, which I stick on Abraham, replacing his Sky Uppercut. It was an issue how few good fighting moves existed in the last 2 generations, and Gen 3 has finally unscrewed fighting with Brick Break. Still came pretty late relative to Thunderbolt and Ice Beam, but you know, gift horse. Then it's time for the final gym. Buge demolishes most of the supporting trainers, getting assistance with Carvanas for their dark attacks and Love Discs because they confuse. Now, Wallace, he reminds me why I did all the work breeding a Shedinja. Costanza has to handle his Love Disc, but then Buge gets a few stat boosts, silver winding his Whiscash, which helps him stay alive to sweep Wallace's Celio, Seeking, and Melodic, trivializing the final gym. Great job, little guy. That victory lets us use Waterfall, which opens up Victory Road and the Elite Four. So of course our next destination is the Trick House. The reward this time is the first one that has actually been exciting, a PP Max that I use on Mad Shrimp's Overheat. And with Waterfall, revisit Meteor Falls now for the very powerful Dragonclaw TM that I teach to Achu. If you want a reason to run Trico, by the way, Sceptile is one of the other best recipients for Dragonclaw. It's time now to do the Regi content. 3 titanic Pokemon are entombed around the world, waiting for release. I grab Cressida and take my team to this strange cave beneath the waves on Route 134. In the first room, Buge digs by the wall to open the door. Then in the next room, by letting Cressida lead the party and putting Bridgerton at the back, the earth shifts and 3 doors open across the world. What's behind those doors? It's an angry comment section as I go murder all my Regis Philbins. First, Reg Ice's cave is on Route 105. I have to patiently sit for 2 minutes at the wall for his door to open. There was a moment that I thought about running Reg Ice on the team as a Dragon Slayer, but the most problematic dragons run Flamethrower now to counter ice types, and his moveset is uninteresting besides Ice Beam, so down he goes. Use Strength at this specific spot in a cave in the desert on Route 111 to encounter a cunty Regirock with a handbag. Bridgerton just surfs this thing to Kingdom Come. And Cash Registeel is on the plateau on Route 120, where we have to let Fly Love open the door. To your heart. Abraham brick breaks this one, but it takes a whole 3 turns because he curses up his defense. With Registeel defeated, the Regis are buried again, and that's my final answer. Now, we've been waiting half the game to trade for the Mach Bike. We needed waterfall permission for 1 more Acro Bike acquisition first, though, on Route 119 for a rare candy. And what a blast from the past, a hidden Kecleon blocks the path here for 1 second. This feels so random to place after a waterfall. At last, we can finally trade for a Mach Bike and go start grabbing that thrilling content. Granite Cave has some minor loot. Route 115 has an iron, but by far the most important Mach loot is in the Safari Zone. In the northwest corner, we can Mach Bike for Solar Beam, which fits very well on Mad Shrimp with his Auto Sunny Day. Plus, while we're on Safari, rustle up a Pikachu near the entrance as trade fodder. In Fortree City afterwards, trade that Pikachu to a young girl named Daryl for a Skitit. And with the final NPC trade done, yeah, there's only 3, let's talk over the trade experience in Generation 3. Elephant in the room, 3 trades is insultingly few. Red-Blue had 9, Yellow 7, Gold-Silver 6, and Crystal 7. It's clear they did not want to support this mechanic, so I truly wonder why it was even included. Strategically, getting a Skitty in Fortree and a Corsola in Pacifidlog is just insulting, considering you can get both Pokemon not only sooner, but more easily. Getting Mackit in Rustboro is the only strategically justifiable trade, since you can't catch your own quite yet, and it can help with Roxanne. Aside from there being only 3 trades, and them not, being good, I think Game Freak lost sight of what makes NPC trades interesting. A Pokemon we can only get via trading is cool, or getting one much sooner than we otherwise could have. Perhaps one who holds an interesting item you can't otherwise get, something they still haven't done, or heck, give us trade evolutions this way like we got with a Machamp back in Yellow. Simply put, there's no reason to care about these in-game trades, and after enjoying this mechanic for 4 games, Ruby and Sapphire did disappoint me here. Oh, and while we're here, revisit the long-distance boyfriend to wrap up that strange quest and get a mental herb. Super weird interaction. This whole quest must have had translation errors, right? Let's go catch that oversized Barboach and Shroomish now. Fortunately, I had a properly sized Shroomish in my first 2 catches because these ones are not that easy to encounter. Nest balls from Verdanturf help catch them since they're low level. Barboaches are a lot easier to encounter since they're 100% to Super Rod on Route 111, but it took me many more catches, so in my experience, the Shroomish guy is correct about them being bigger. Show each Pokemon to the men for elixirs. This was such a strange quest to bring back from Gen 2. There can't be more than a couple of people who bothered catching Magikarps at the Lake of Rage. Did y'all? With that done, it's time to visit Evergrande City and approach the Elite 5 via Victory Road. As usual, I will give the team a little scorecard as we head through Victory Road. Abraham, with us since the start, has been a respectable attacker all game, though more of a fighting type than a grass type in practice. A lot of the water opponents have been half poison or flying, losing my grass advantage. Costanza has been boring because all he does is Thunderbolt, but he's very good at Thunderbolting. He's good at the meta that the game has sent us. I would never play this game without Electric, and he's the only Gen 3 choice that isn't Plusle or Minun, so... Achu was hardly usable in battle until getting Fly, and is just okay now with Dragonclaw and Earthquake. As with Gen 2, my practical flying options were limited, and Achu just made more sense than Tropius did, but between you and me, she's kind of been a burden. Buge is my boy. Highly fun to use, but I kept discovering new surprise ways for him to die for a while. I just wish that opponent AI was a little less likely to switch out once you finally have Shedinja in a good matchup. Bridgerton is cool and huge, and I enjoyed the narrative of raising him up to unlock and fight Regirock. If I have a complaint though, it's just that these games continue to offer you 20 water options when you can only use 1, and in fact this one was chosen for me, so I didn't even get to look at the other 19. And Mad Shrimp is not yet battle tested, but I love the content he allows me to demonstrate. His drought ability causing free sunny day is the first time that I'm happy to utilize a weather effect, and he soaked up 2 strong TMs that wanted homes. I'm jazzed to use Overheat. Wally assaults us on our way out of Victory Road, this time for a proper battle, but it's no challenge for our stacked team. Buge gets his Gardevoir and Magneton, and Wally just stands there dejected watching us leave after we win. Then, it's time to withdraw all those rare candies from a whole game of looting and taxation pickups and distribute them on the team, getting the team to level 46 and 7, then challenge the Elite 5. Sydney the Dark User comes first. Abraham breaks his Puccina twice, chewing through a Hyper Potion. Then, Sydney went right into his champion Absol. I do not want this thing slashing my team, so Mad Shrimp makes his combat debut hoping to overheat it in one move, given Absol's low defenses. I don't get the one-shot, but my follow-up Earthquake does just kill the Sharpedo that he switched into to counter me. Ha. I kind of had to make opportunities for Achu during the Elite Four, and one of them is to fly down his Cacturn. Then back to Absol means back to Shrimp. He left his Shiftry for last, which meant no switching out, and Buge is able to one-shot him. But Buge has no safe matchups in the next fight against the Ghost Trainer, Phoebe. I start Costanza against her Dusclops, hoping to bite it down. It takes a few turns, but I do blow her full restore. Then she goes right into her champion Dusclops. Bridgerton trades blows, surfing this thing down, but her Citrus Berry heal means that we lose the exchange. But hey, opponents withheld items, like I wanted. Shrimp has to finish this one with a Solar Beam. Costanza comes back to race down her Banette before it causes harm. She got one chance to hurt me, but she blew it, inflicting a burn. Her Sableye has no counter in the game, so Achu just Dragon Claws it. And Shrimp quakes away her final Banette, but catches a Toxic, so there's a lot of healing and status curing to do after this fight. Glacia is third, the Ice Girl. Shrimp opens up with an Overheat to dismantle her Glalie. Next is a Celio that I lower to 1 hit point with Costanza, and she starts some Hail. That's bad news if I'm going to try Buge this fight. After a full restore, Costanza bolts this seal, and then the next, also to 1 hit point, and she blizzards me into hail range, losing Costanza. I send in Buge, thinking that I may as well get a killing blow with him, but she switches to a Glalie, but hail stops too, so Buge is saved. I swap to Mad Shrimp to avoid the crunch, but she somehow knew to queue up Ice Beam, which almost gets me before Shrimp's Ancient Power wins out. Glacia puts back her 1 hit point Sealy Booth, so it's back to Buge to Shadow Ball this thing down. Her second seal does not know Hail, which is great because neither does her champion Walrein, which Buge takes his time dismantling. And I learn by looking closely that Walrein does not have a cute little Fall Guys face for a head. That's his nose, and he's way less cute than I thought. The fourth trainer in the Elite Four is a Dragon Master, again. These are getting predictable, but at least the game has deigned to allow us to play with dragons ourselves if we want to. Drake's Shelgon is first, who just swallows ice from Bridgerton and blows a full restore. His Altaria is safe for Buge, but he swaps out to Flygon right away, so I have to change to Achu to Dragon Claw that. Again, he makes Altaria dance with Buge, this time into Salamence. I had big brained it this time though, and expected the switch, queuing up Secret Power, which does land the Paralyze. Switching again won't go well for me, so I press my luck with Buge, but the Paralyze does not save me from Flamethrower. So I put Shrimp to work Ancient Powering, and he only needs 2 to win through a Citrus Berry. This time when he sends in Altaria, I take the time to res Buge and send him in again. For a third time, he dances out for Flygon, but again, I do land the Secret Power Paralyze. I let Achu come in to win with Dragon Claws, again, which finally locks his Altaria in place for Buge to take down. Then, the Elite 5 champion is our pal, Steven. I start with Shrimp because I want to burn his Skarmory before he can start a Sandstorm, which could lock out Buge. I succeed. His Aggron is next, who is afraid of Buge, so he swaps out for a Cradily, who was actually my single toughest Elite 4 opponent. This thing has coverage against a surprising amount of my team. My answer, which took a little bit of playing around to figure out, was Brick Breaking with Abraham, helped by a lucky Contact Poison from his ability. Mad Shrimp trades blows with his Armaldo, which, thanks to a full restore, takes many attacks, but Sunny Day keeps his super effective Water Pulse damage minimal against me. Then Aggron is back, and so is Buge. I Silver Wind, knowing that he'll switch out, but hoping for the stat boost, which would mean that I can outspeed and two-shot his Claydol, which does occur. I did a lot of manifesting success for Budge these last 2 fights. He then sends his champion Metagross, who is disgustingly unfair in defenses and stats. Except, Buge is totally immune to it. He's completely toothless while I chip away. Real talk, once I realized that the champion's Metagross was blank against Shedinja early on in my planning, there was nothing you could have said to me to make me not arrange the final exactly like this. And then he trucks out Aggron again for me to win in 2 digs. Roll the Hall of Fame sequence and credits. The postgame in Ruby and Sapphire is mercifully lightweight. We wake up in Littleroot Town after credits to see Dad finally came home to deliver us a ferry ticket, courtesy of Mr. Briny. Then he immediately leaves again, and Mom is surprisingly nonchalant about that. The TV teaches us that Latios is now roaming Hoenn, a la the legendary dogs from Gen 2. I actually spent quite a while with repels on trying to get an encounter for footage, but I gave up after a while. I was just gonna kill it anyway, so... Better news, the Trick House's final challenge is unlocked having beat the Elite Four. It's a sliding floor puzzle which I always really enjoy in games, and then we're done with this game-long and barely rewarding quest. The real prize was, unironically, the puzzles that we enjoyed along the way, not any of the loot. I ride the ferry from Slateport to Lily Cove now, and this is quite similar to the SS Aqua, at least on the second ride, from Gen 2. Just a handful of trainer battles with the ship arriving when you rest. This one has leftovers in the basement trash. In Lily Cove, the hotel is now host to the Game Freak staff who will eventually reward a complete Pokédex, and this one creepy dude makes lewd comments about the female tubers, who are like, definitely children. Unrelated, chat, you're in the game too. The fan club has my supporters now that I've beaten the Elite Four. But that's weird, I don't see guy who comments mad at how I pronounce the name of one fictional monster in a game of hundreds of different fictional monsters. Oh well. Ride the boat again, this time to the Battle Tower. This feature came back from Crystal version with a massive improvement in implementation. You can compete either against level 50 or level 100 opponents. The level 10 bracket never made sense in Crystal, with a team of 3 Pokemon. We're in the high 40s, so the 50 bracket is perfect. Buge is a risk to take in, Shrimp is banned, and Achu is just not strong, so I entered with Bridgerton leading every battle, then Abraham and Costanza. And let me tell you, Bridgerton almost soloed every fight. What they successfully implemented in Ruby and Sapphire, unlike Crystal for the Battle Tower, is scaling difficulty that gradually increases the more wins you get. The lower difficulty is most obvious through moveset, like this Raichu who only seemed to want to light screen. They don't start you off against impossible odds, so it was a lot more fun to dip my toes into the Battle Tower in this game. The Battle Tower could definitely fill its own video, but I stopped after 7 wins when I got a minor prize. Then fly to Pacifidlog Town and surf east, where a new dungeon is open on Route 131, the Sky Pillar. Nobody tells you about this, it's just open now, and it's the reason that we had to end with the Mach Bike. As a dungeon, this place is lame. There's no loot. It's just 5 empty floors broken up with frustrating Mach Bike dexterity puzzles, then a non-animated sprite of Rayquaza to fight. There isn't lore or anything either, just a random dragon's ass to kick using Ice Beam from Bridgerton. I fly off the top of the tower afterward and head to my secret base to end the run, doing some redecorating with the late game furniture that I've managed to pick up. And that was Pokémon Ruby. Let's talk about the experience overall. Is Ruby and Sapphire a worthy successor to Pokémon Crystal? Absolutely. The writing matured a great deal. The characters, major and minor, have more development, and the plot, well, there's actually a plot. A high-stakes, cataclysmic plot that manages to comment on humanity's mistreatment of the planet. It's a lot more interesting than just 10-year-old takes on Pokemon League and, oh yeah, Giovanni's in there being evil for evil's sake. What about the new batch of Pokemon? It feels like more balance, perhaps game testing, was put into Generation 3's Pokemon spread. They stopped gatekeeping Dark, Steel, and even Dragon types, and fixed Fighting and Bug, which had ultra-flimsy movesets since Gen 1. They also finally gave us 2 plain Ice types. These design philosophy improvements made it a lot easier and more rewarding planning a team of Generation 3 Pokemon for this video than it was for Generation 2 in Gold. I touched on the more aggressive meta earlier, and I believe that is a natural consequence of this fixing that happened. More viable Pokemon and moves starting in this generation tilts the series irrevocably toward a kill them before they kill you sort of strategy. Gone are the days of bringing Omastar to Blaine's gym and just being untouchable. Bringing a super effective move while escaping any 2x weaknesses to your opponent's moves is about the best you can hope for. This isn't bad, but it does recommend you more to Pokemon that simply have high stats, making it a little less sensible to play with your underpowered favorites. I think my insistence on running Shedinja, whose ability sort of reclaims the defensive counterplay from Gen 1 that I enjoy, is no accident. I do owe some parting words to the endless water content from this game. I won't beat the dead horse, but I will once more concede the upside, which is that grass Pokemon did get to shine like they never have before, and if it was in fact the developers' intent to boost different types across the different games in order to shake up the meta, they did succeed in doing that. Having different types be better overall thanks to the meta is a change that I only noticed as a result of making this series. After concluding, yeah, grass type doesn't really help against the Elite Four or the rival for 4 games straight now, I couldn't help but feel a fog lifted when I realized, hold up, grass type is good in Gen 3. I must reiterate how disappointing the NPC trades are. If you don't like the system, just take it out of the game. Leaving in 3 pitifully underwhelming NPC trades comes off worse than just not including any. HMs, since Gen 1, have been an interesting problem how they subtly force you into running a diverse team. And yet, it's an asphyxiating burden to run 8 HMs on your team in this game, increased from 7 in Gen 2, plus maybe Dig and Secret Power. I don't know if we needed Surf, Dive, and Waterfall again, just saying. What about new mechanics? Abilities are a cool way to shake up the viability of weak Pokemon without having to edit their stat lines, and moreover, abilities are very fun. Natures are okay too, giving even casual players a bit of incentive to catch a few copies of a Pokemon in the hunt for a complementary nature. Contests are huge. I cringed at them when I first played Generation 3, but honestly, giving them a chance now, they are fun. I kind of wish contests didn't include the first phase, because the luster mechanic that I didn't even go into discourages you from feeding Pokeblocks until the postgame when you can get good ones, and then it's a drag doing all of your contests in a row. But the darkest dungeon-y phase 2 of contests is a really fun minigame. Really, Pokémon Ruby is an excellent entry in the series. It's more mature in difficulty and themes, and there is not a lot of handholding here. They tightened up battle mechanics and added new fun systems that still respected the formula. Game Freak honestly nailed the balance of tradition and novelty. Seriously, objectively, these might be the best games in the series. Hey, if you're still here, thank you so much for watching this video. This video was a big one to produce, and I'm very grateful that you made it this far. If you would like to say thank you, a comment or a like is free, and it helps me out very much to get my work in front of more eyeballs. I've also got a Discord server that we'd love to have you in if you want to be part of the Mafia. Links are below. Also, thank you so much to my patrons who keep this channel going. Huge videos like this take a long time between uploads, and y'all make me able to produce well-researched content like this. I post updates and behind the scenes over there if you'd like to add your name as a supporter. Thank you. This 73-minute video left me feeling a little burnt out on Pokemon for now, so there's going to be some non-Pokemon content coming up next, especially as we celebrate spooky season. So subscribe for future content if you dare. Thank you very much. Until next time, creep it real, y'all.